The arrival. The vastness of space surrounding Proxima Station blazed with the fiery deaths of Coalition vessels. What had begun as a desperate defense had deteriorated into a hopeless last stand against the methodical onslaught of the Dominion fleet. The Moravian cruisers, once proud flagships of the Coalition, drifted as burning husks. The Talaxian defense platforms, renowned for their impenetrable shields, had been systematically disabled. Only a handful of Coalition ships remained operational, their commanders transmitting final messages to their homeworlds as the Dominion warships closed in for the kill. High Admiral Zorax of the Moravian Republic clenched his forearms against his chest, a gesture of mourning among his species. The tactical display before him told a story of inevitable defeat. The Dominion had outmaneuvered them at every turn, their biomechanical vessels moving with cold precision through Coalition defenses. High Admiral, his communications officer spoke softly, her voice resigned. The Talaxian Council requests our surrender terms. Their remaining vessels cannot sustain another assault. Zorax didn't respond immediately. The Coalition, an alliance of 17 spacefaring species, had spent decades resisting the Dominion's expansion. Proxima Station represented their final stronghold in this sector, a critical junction point for supply lines and communications. Its loss would mean the effective end of organized resistance. Tell them. Zorax began, but his words halted as alarms blared across the command center. Unknown signature detected. The sensor officer shouted, mandibles clicking in surprise. Massive displacement event at coordinates 227 Mark 43. Zorax turned to the main view screen as space itself seemed to tear open, a swirling vortex of blue-white energy forming where nothing had been moments before. From within this anomaly emerged a vessel unlike any the Coalition or Dominion had ever witnessed. The ship was enormous, easily rivaling the largest Dominion dreadnoughts, but with none of the organic curves or biological enhancements that characterize both Coalition and Dominion design philosophies. This vessel was angular, almost primitive in appearance, a massive construct of dark metal plates and exposed structural elements that gave it the appearance of an ancient sea vessel rather than a spacecraft. Its hull bore visible weapon emplacements, not elegantly integrated but deliberately prominent, as if their visibility itself was meant as a threat. What manner of vessel is that? Zorax demanded, his tactical mind already calculating whether this newcomer represented salvation or yet another threat. Unknown configuration, his tactical officer responded. But we're detecting power signatures far exceeding anything in our database. It's broadcasting a signal. Put it through, Zorax ordered. A human face appeared on the command center's communication screen, a female with dark hair pulled back tightly, olive skin bearing a scar across one cheek, and eyes that held both determination and something Zorax couldn't quite identify. Perhaps it was anger, or something darker. This is Captain Alina Reyes of the Earth Defense Force vessel Dauntless, she stated without preamble. We've received your distress signal. Proxima Station. The Terran Confederation stands with the Coalition against Dominion aggression. Hold your positions. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Humans were known to the Coalition, of course, a recently discovered species on the galactic fringe, still developing their interstellar capabilities. The Coalition had made preliminary contact, but had deliberately avoided involving Earth in the conflict with the Dominion, considering humans too primitive to contribute meaningfully. That assessment now seemed catastrophically misjudged. On the Dominion command vessel, Overseer Krell observed the newcomer with cold calculation. The bioneural interfaces embedded in his skull transmitted his thoughts directly to his subordinates across the fleet. Analyze the intruder vessel. Prepare interdiction protocols. Data streams flowed through his consciousness as the Dominion's advanced sensors probed the human warship. The results were confusing. The vessel's hull consisted of materials so dense they partially reflected scanning beams. Its power sources operated on principles unfamiliar to Dominion science, and its weapons systems defied classification. Unknown vessel, Krell transmitted on all frequencies. This conflict does not concern your species. Withdraw immediately or face eradication. The response came not in words but in action. The human vessel, the Dauntless, suddenly accelerated toward the heart of the Dominion formation with speed that should have been impossible for a ship of its mass. Before Krell could issue new commands, the human warship unleashed its first salvo. Not the energy weapons or graviton beams used throughout the galaxy, but massive projectiles. Physical objects accelerated to relativistic speeds that tore through the advanced shields of a Dominion cruiser as if they didn't exist. The cruiser didn't explode in the traditional sense. It simply ceased to exist as kinetic energy converted matter into superheated plasma. Impossible, Krell transmitted involuntarily, the emotion bleeding through his usually perfect control. The Dauntless continued its charge, weapons firing in precisely timed sequences. Each shot claimed a Dominion vessel, the kinetic impacts bypassing defenses designed to counter energy-based attacks. The human ship absorbed return fire that would have vaporized Coalition vessels, its hull glowing red in places, but maintaining structural integrity. Aboard the Dauntless, Captain Rice stood at the center of a command bridge that would have appeared primitive to both Coalition and Dominion observers. No neural interfaces, no holographic projections, just hardened displays, physical controls, and crew members working with disciplined efficiency. Target their flagship, Rise ordered, her voice steady despite the impacts rocking the vessel. All batteries, full spread. Engineering, divert power to forward shields. Lieutenant Commander Park at Tactical responded immediately. Targeting solutions locked. Main batteries primed. Fire. The Dauntless shuddered as its main battery discharged. Not a single shot but dozens of projectiles fired in rapid succession, each weighing several tons and accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. The barrage overwhelmed the Dominion flagship's point defenses, its shields collapsing under the kinetic onslaught. The vessel didn't immediately disintegrate. Instead, the impacts tore massive sections away, atmosphere venting into space as secondary explosions bloomed across its length. Their formation is breaking, reported Commander Chen from sensors. Multiple Dominion vessels altering course. They appear to be retreating. A moment of silence fell across the bridge as the crew processed this information. The Dominion didn't retreat. In all recorded engagements across 2 decades of conflict, Dominion forces had fought to the last vessel rather than withdraw. Captain Rice allowed herself a small smile. They weren't expecting us, and they certainly weren't prepared for how humans fight. The remaining Dominion vessels accelerated away from Proxima Station, abandoning their damaged flagship and several crippled cruisers. The Coalition forces watched in stunned disbelief as their seemingly invincible enemy fled before a single human warship. Admiral Zorax could hardly process what he had witnessed. In less than 30 minutes, the human vessel had accomplished what the combined Coalition fleets had failed to achieve in years of conflict, a decisive victory against the Dominion. Open a channel to the human vessel, Zorax ordered. When Captain Rice's face appeared on the screen again, Zorax performed the Moravian gesture of profound respect. All 4 arms crossed and then extended outward. Captain Rice, the Coalition owes you and your crew a debt that cannot be measured. You've saved not just this station, but perhaps our entire alliance. Rice nodded, her expression serious. We're happy to help, Admiral, but this was just one battle. The Dominion will return, and they'll be better prepared for our tactics. Why? Zorax couldn't help asking. Why would Earth involve itself in our conflict? Your world is far from Dominion expansion. You could have remained safe for decades. Rice's expression hardened. 3 months ago, a Dominion scouting party attacked one of our colonies on Ta City. They apparently deemed humans unworthy of assimilation and attempted to eliminate us as a potential future threat. They killed 12,000 colonists before retreating. She leaned forward, her voice taking on a dangerous edge. The Dominion made a critical error, Admiral. They judged humanity by our level of technology, not by our capacity for warfare. Earth's history is written in conflict. For thousands of years, we fought each other with ever-increasing efficiency. When we unified and looked to the stars, we brought that heritage with us. Zorax felt a chill despite the environmental controls of his command center. What happens now, Captain? Now we take the fight to them. The Dauntless is just the first of our vessels to reach Coalition space. Earth is mobilizing. Admiral, the Dominion wanted war with humanity. They've got it. As the human warship took up position alongside the battered Coalition defenders, word spread rapidly through Proxima Station and beyond. Recordings of the battle transmitted across subspace to Coalition worlds, bringing with them something that had become foreign to many species: hope. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and the silence that followed spoke volumes about what was to come. The Reckoning. The Dominion's central command nexus orbited a dying star, drawing power from its final death throes. Within the biological-mechanical hybrid structure that served as both headquarters and hive mind, the Archon observed the battle recordings from Proxima Station with cold fury. "Explain this failure," the collective voice of the Archon demanded. Its consciousness spread across thousands of interconnected vessels and beings throughout Dominion space. Overseer Krell, one of the few survivors from the flagship, stood before the neural interface chamber, his normally perfect posture compromised by injuries sustained during the retreat. "The human vessel employed weapons technologies we have not encountered before," Krell stated. "Physical projectiles accelerated to relativistic speeds. Our shields are calibrated for energy dissipation, not kinetic impacts of such magnitude." A primitive approach, the Archon dismissed, yet effective because of its very primitiveness. "An oversight in our defenses that shall be corrected." The Archon's consciousness shifted, accessing data collected over centuries of conquest. These humans were evaluated as a pre-integration species, unsuitable for assimilation into the Dominion collective. This assessment was clearly flawed. "They represent a unique threat," Krell acknowledged. "Their technological base differs fundamentally from standard development patterns we've observed across thousands of species. They've developed along alternative paths that our models fail to predict." The Archon's response came after a moment of processing. "Then they cannot be permitted to exist. Prepare the sundering. The human homeworld will serve as demonstration of consequences for resistance." Krell hesitated, an action that would typically result in immediate termination. "Archon, committing the sundering may be premature. Our intelligence suggests the vessel at Proxima Station is merely the first of many. The humans appear to have been preparing for conflict since our initial encounter with their colony." The Archon's bioluminescent chamber pulsed with dark energy. "All the more reason to eliminate them completely and immediately. Gather the fleet. We will obliterate this threat before it fully materializes." Across Dominion space, vessels altered course, abandoning ongoing conquest operations to converge on a single location. The largest military gathering in the Dominion's 1,000-year history began to take shape. Meanwhile, aboard Proxima Station, an unprecedented gathering of a different kind was underway. Representatives from all 17 coalition species crowded the central diplomatic chamber, their attention focused on the lone human standing before them. Captain Rice had traded her battle uniform for a formal diplomatic attire, a simple black suit adorned only with the insignia of the Earth Defense Force. Despite being outnumbered and surrounded by alien dignitaries, she projected an aura of absolute confidence. "The Dominion will return," Rice stated without preamble. "Our intelligence indicates they're marshalling forces from across their territory. This won't be like Proxima Station. They'll come prepared for our tactics." High Chancellor Vex of the Talaxian Conclave, the nominal leader of the coalition, leaned forward on his gravity throne. "How can humanity hope to stand against such overwhelming numbers? The Dauntless is impressive, but it is one ship." Rice activated a holographic projector, displaying a tactical map of the sector. "The Dauntless was our advance force. The main Earth fleet is already en route, 16 capital ships and their support vessels. But victory won't come from firepower alone. We need intelligence, coordination, and something the Dominion won't expect. Admiral Zorax, newly promoted after the previous battle, studied the human with newfound respect. "What do you propose, Captain?" "A trap," Rise replied, manipulating the holographic display. "The Dominion believes they understand our capabilities now. They'll adapt their shields and tactics to counter our kinetic weapons. But they still think linearly, like conquerors who've never faced meaningful resistance." The display zoomed in on a particular star system, a binary configuration with a dense asteroid field and unusual radiation patterns. The Carthus system, Chancellor Vex identified. Uninhabitable and strategically worthless. "Which makes it perfect," Rise countered. "We don't need to defend it, merely use it. The radiation field will mask certain preparations. If we can lure the Dominion fleet there, we can end this war in a single engagement." The coalition representatives exchanged glances, a mixture of hope and skepticism evident in their various communications methods, from the subtle color changes of the Moravians to the pheromone signals of the insectoid Ketra. "And how do you propose to lure the entire Dominion armada into an obvious trap?" Admiral Zorax asked, forearms crossed skeptically. Reyes smiled, an expression that didn't reach her eyes. "By giving them exactly what they want, a shot at humanity's leadership. I'm transmitting an open challenge to the Dominion Archon. As we speak." The chamber erupted in multiple languages and communication forms. When order was finally restored, Chancellor Vex spoke for many. "You're challenging the Archon directly. This is madness." "No," Rise replied calmly. "This is psychology. The Dominion functions as a hive mind with the Archon at its center. They cannot ignore a direct challenge without losing face before their subjugated worlds. Their entire control structure depends on the perception of invincibility." She manipulated the hologram again, displaying a complex series of formations. "Earth, study your previous engagements with the Dominion. You've been fighting conventionally, trying to match their technological advantages with your own. That's a losing strategy against an enemy with superior numbers and resources." Admiral Zorax's skin darkened, a sign of intense thought among his species. "What alternative do you suggest?" "Asymmetric warfare," Rise stated. "Fighting not where they're strongest, but where they're most vulnerable. The Dominion's greatest weakness is its hierarchical collective consciousness. Disrupt the Archon, and the entire structure becomes vulnerable." 2 weeks later, the Carthus system witnessed the arrival of the combined Earth Coalition fleet. The 16 Earth capital ships dwarfed even the Dauntless, their angular design standing in stark contrast to the flowing biological aesthetics of their coalition allies. At the center of the formation, the EDF Indomitable served as flagship, with Captain Reyes temporarily transferred to coordinate the combined forces. They didn't wait long. Space distorted as hundreds, then thousands of Dominion vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel, surrounding the much smaller Allied fleet in a sphere of overwhelming firepower. At the center of the Dominion formation, a massive structure unlike any conventional vessel appeared, the physical manifestation of the Archon itself, a semi-organic construct larger than a small moon. "The Archon has taken the bait," Rise observed from the Indomitable's command center. "All forces maintain position. Let them make the first move." The Dominion wasted no time. A communication burst across all frequencies, the collective voice of the Archon itself addressing them directly. "Your challenge has been accepted, humans. Your species' defiance ends today. Surrender now, and some may be preserved as study specimens. Resist, and you will be eradicated completely." Reyes activated the response channel, her voice steady. "We've studied your pattern of conquest, Archon. 17,000 years of expansion, 36 civilizations absorbed or destroyed. Always the same approach, overwhelming force against conventional opposition." She paused, allowing tension to build. "But you've never encountered humanity before. We don't fight like the others." With that, she closed the channel and gave the order that would change galactic history. Execute Operation Trojan. Across the asteroid field surrounding the binary stars, previously hidden devices activated simultaneously. Not weapons, at least not directly, but thousands of quantum entanglement transmitters, each linked to carefully placed packages throughout Dominion territory. As the signals propagated through subspace, carefully crafted computer viruses deployed against the Dominion's biological-mechanical hybrid systems. The effect was immediate and devastating. Dominion vessels throughout the formation suddenly lost coordination, their movements becoming erratic as contradictory commands flooded their control systems. The collective consciousness that gave the Dominion its tactical advantage became its greatest vulnerability as the infection spread exponentially through neural pathways and integrated systems. Now, Rise ordered. All ships, execute attack pattern Sierra. The Earth and Coalition vessels didn't charge directly into the disorganized Dominion formation. Instead, they divided into smaller battle groups, targeting key command nodes identified by years of intelligence gathering. The Earth vessels deployed their kinetic weapons with surgical precision, while Coalition ships exploited newly created vulnerabilities in Dominion defenses. At the heart of the chaos, the Archon itself struggled against an enemy it couldn't physically engage, information warfare on a scale never before attempted. Its collective consciousness fragmented as conflicting data streams destroyed the synchronization that maintained its unified identity. The virus is working, reported Commander Chen from Tactical. Dominion fleet coordination has dropped by 70% and falling. Their vessels are beginning to fire on each other in confusion. Reyes nodded, watching as the greatest armada in known space tore itself apart from within. Maintain focus on primary targets. Don't get drawn into unnecessary engagements. The battle, if it could still be called that, continued for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Without their collective coordination, individual Dominion vessels fell one by one to the combined Earth Coalition forces. Some attempted to retreat, only to find their navigation systems compromised. Others simply drifted, their command structures so thoroughly corrupted that they could no longer function. And at the center, the Archon itself, the physical embodiment of the Dominion's 1,000-year conquest, went silent. In the aftermath, as Coalition vessels began the enormous task of securing prisoners and salvaging technology, Admiral Zorax joined Captain Reyes on the Indomitable's observation deck. Below them, the remnants of the Dominion fleet drifted like a graveyard of metal and organic components. Your plan succeeded beyond all expectations, Zorax acknowledged. Though I confess, I still don't entirely understand how. Reyes gazed out at the debris field. For centuries, humanity fought itself. We became experts at finding weaknesses, exploiting vulnerabilities. When we finally achieved unity, we had hoped to leave warfare behind. The Dominion forced us to remember those lessons. She turned to face the Admiral. The Dominion conquered through superior technology and numbers. We won today because we recognized that all advanced systems, regardless of their origin, share one common vulnerability: complexity. The more complex a system becomes, the more points of failure it develops. What happens now? Zorax asked. The Dominion controlled vast territories. There will be power vacuums, rebellions, chaos. Now, Reyes replied, we rebuild. Together, the Coalition and Earth, along with any former Dominion worlds that wish to join us. This victory isn't the end. It's just the beginning of something new. As the two leaders looked out over the battlefield, silence fell across space once more. But unlike before, this silence didn't herald destruction. It promised reconstruction, alliance, and a future where humanity and its new allies would face the stars together. The galaxy would never be the same, and perhaps that was exactly what it needed.